Yeah, we obviously tried to unpack as much as we can our 23 season, which obviously did not go the way we expected or wanted. We felt we came back with a better roster than the 22 season that won 99 games, and but obviously we didn't come back with 99 wins. We came back obviously with significantly less number of wins in that category, and trying to figure out separate what was real versus what was. So there's a lot of stuff that's not accurate that's floating around about analytics took us offline, and that's why it's the same people, our same analytics crew. One thing we have is a very consistent, successful operation. Last year, obviously, is the first year in a long time we took a dip, and it happens. But the same people that were responsible for us having a lot of success are somehow being focused as the blame game for the reason the 2003 season went south. And I think you can start unpacking. All of a sudden there's a lot of discussion about player development and how we develop our players and analytics, and then it's like, again, you got to come back to why did we lose, and why do we have such trouble with many of the same players coming back that won 99 games last year, with in part bringing certain guys in from to that roster mix, improving your starting rotation with a Rodon, for instance, or expectation of having a healthy Severino and hopefully him being what he was, but none of that stuff happened. Obviously got a lot of injuries that took guys offline, and then we had underperformance in certain areas too, and that's what added up to our 82 win loss season. I mean, our 82 win season, and more so than anything else. But there's a lot of narratives that got carried away, in my opinion, and a lot of people that have been unfairly, portrayed, in my opinion. And but the biggest thing is, at the end of the day, I'm here. We're talking now, but I want to tell you, there's nothing I can say that's going to change anybody's position, because the New York Yankees are used to winning, which I'm proud to say. The New York Yankees expect to win, which I'm proud to say, and be a part of an organization that's that way. And our fan base not only deserves that type of winning, but their fan base expects that type of winning. And so they're obviously understandably pissed off when we don't punch a ticket to get into the postseason and take a shot at the World Series title. And so no matter what I do or say, not what I do, but whatever I say or whatever we say as a franchise right now is not going to appease anybody. It's about what we're going to do, to improve the roster and our situation going into the 24 season. It's all about 24 now.
Cash, what's not?
What's not?
Like, what's
injuries aren't. If you want to look at losing a lot of really quality hitters, the injuries along the way, with it's not that Aaron Judge was gone for 2 months because he ran into a wall in L.A. It wasn't that Nestor Cortez showed up with a hamstring, after training all winter for the WBC, and so his season started off with an injury and continued through his injuries. It wasn't. Obviously we didn't get the performance we thought we could get from Donaldson or Bader or Stanton, and Stanton combined with performance and injury. You can go on and on and on. LeMahieu hadn't been the same maybe until the last 2 months, fighting his foot injury. So once he hurt his foot, you had a perennial MVP candidate, in the top 5 in the American League we're used to seeing, and then all of a sudden he had that foot issue that, hadn't been the same since. But, so I can go on and point to those type of things. That's not, on the offensive side, we basically ran back the same offense, which with an improved shortstop, with the evolution of the Volpe, but we wound up, going from the top 2 in runs scored or home runs in all of baseball to obviously a collapse. So, and then you swing over to the pitching side, and Montas doesn't even get out of the gate. He gets a season practically ending surgery before we even step foot on spring training. And then obviously then the party continues with Nestor Cortez's hamstring, and then eventually Nestor with the shoulder, and then Sevy with the rib cage, and one right after the other. You can name 5 of your starters. Rodon, obviously not getting out of spring training after shoving the previous year in the National League for San Francisco. So, you start adding all those, what you expect from those guys, and then what you get from alternatives, it becomes a different ball team. no different than what the New York Jets are dealing with when they lost, their superstar quarterback right out of the gate. It changed, obviously, the complexion of, their season, even though they're fighting tooth and nail to fight through it. It's happens, and so that's real. That's not so.
Then when
you mentioned injuries, which are largely out of your control, but is there anything that needs to change and will change on the process side?
Oh, we're always looking to improve on process. So last year, everybody thought that, well, first and foremost on the I want to make sure, and I think it's been put out there. So people talk about we're analytically driven, right? Do you know where the least large, we have the smallest analytics department in the American League East? Is that a shocker to you guys? We have the largest pro scouting department in all of baseball. Is that a shocker to you, to everybody? Shouldn't be, but no one's doing their deep dives. They're just throwing ammunition and accusing us of being run analytically. Analytics is an important spoke in our wheel, but it should be in everybody's wheel, and it really is an important spoke in every operation that's having success. There's not one team that's not using it. We're no different. But to be said we're guided by analytics as a driver, it's a lie. But that's what people want to say. I know I can't change that narrative. All I can continue to do is say not true. But I will, guarantee it's important, and we utilize it along with our pro scouting opinions, along with our amateur scouting opinions. And yes, sometimes we do better and sometimes we do worse with some of our decisions. Sometimes they don't work out, but that's also part of the process. And we've had, obviously, our fair share in the more recent 2 seasons that haven't worked out. Some of it because of injuries, but some of it just bad decisions. And I know what happens when you don't do well. So I was here during the mid-'80s, into the 90s, and the Yankees, we didn't start hitting our stride until 95, 94, 95. But I remember being a part of with a lot of great baseball people and teams that did not perform well, and the finger pointing that takes place in a losing situation. We're close to a losing situation. We're in a losing situation this year, but we lost enough not to make the postseason. But then what happens with a big market, you get a lot of people with a lot of opinions. You're getting from outside the organization that are throwing daggers, from inside the organization, different people that are actually you work with that have strong opinions of, well, if we went this way versus that way, and it starts playing out in the papers and everybody starts picking you apart, that's what happens when you lose. So, I don't like losing. I don't like not making the playoffs. Our fans deserve better. Our owner deserves better. So we're back at it trying to figure it out. That does involve a lot of tough conversations. But I do understand that it's important to separate what's real versus what's not real. What's just crap noise versus what, hey, that's action items right there. And that's what we're doing. I promise you that's what we're doing. I mean, do we have to, go ahead and do deep dives by publicly gutting ourselves and telling you everything we're doing internally as we assess what we've got going on? No, but I do want to share a few different bullet points like I just did earlier to kind of correct the narratives as, like, people say we're over analytically driven. Obviously I'd say that's not true.
So the chance that you and the rumors that you or Booney would not be back, does that go into the pile of stuff that wasn't true?
That's an owner decision always. So we're here. I'm here, and Booney's here. We're not going anywhere. But I don't. Those questions aren't unfair to ask for the owner to make decisions on. He always has a chance to tag people out, whether it's the general manager, the manager, or anybody else if he says, he's the boss. So.
I'm sorry, Brian, your owner used the term big changes. Do you need to make big changes, and what are the big changes?
I think like anything else, the tail wags the dog, which is it's a player's game. And the big changes are how are you going to improve your roster to give yourselves a better chance moving forward, and then hope your roster stays healthy. So the big changes are find ways to impact your roster in a positive way. For me. So I can't speak for him. And that's the other thing when you do these type of settings and you have then the playback of whatever your words are and the meaning given to those words, and then how it's hung against you at convenience at times. It's all part of it. I get it. And so we got sand being kicked in our face, understandably so. We only won 82 games. We didn't make the playoffs. I called it a disaster because it was unexpected, and it was a disaster. That roster on paper was a hell of a lot better than it played out, but I got to live with that. I got to own that. I'm responsible for that, and I'm certainly hearing it loud and clear from all aspects of, whether it's media, whether it's fans, all that stuff. Hey, you know, if you're going to play in this market, you got to be tough, and you got to fight through it, and we're going to fight through it and find a way to have 24 be a better outcome than 23. But did not see 23 coming, and I don't think anybody here would have thought they saw 23 coming with the roster we had either. At this point last year, closer to the end of the winter, this was a playoff team. This was a World Series contending team. In fact, maybe the best roster they've had to give them such a chance to get to the World Series. And the same people now are talking about roster construction and too much analytics and all this other stuff, which I get a kick out of watching that back and forth where, geez, those are the same people that actually like what we did 6 months ago, and now they're killing it for us now. I get it. It's part of being a part of this process. That's what makes sports so amazing. But we got good baseball people. We've made good decisions over the course of time. More recently, some of these things haven't been as good. I'm responsible for that. That's my call, and hopefully we'll be in a better position with some of the decisions that we can hopefully run into and improve the roster and improve where we're going to be sitting as we move into 24. So bottom line, it just comes down to winning and losing, and that's what this is all about. We lost way too many games than we should have lost last year. That's my fault. I'm responsible as the baseball operations GM. If the owner wants to tag me out at any time, he clearly can do that. He demanded us to do self-reflection. My job in a leadership position is always to determine, you know, and I think the good leaders, because as I referenced earlier in the 80s, the good leaders decide to separate what's real versus not real. We've lost a lot of good baseball people along the way. I know people want change just for change's sake. Well, I remember seeing great people walk in and out of this place like Pat Gillick and before I got here, or Dick Hauser, or Lou Piniella, or, you know, all these guys because of impatience or not tolerating, you know, the ebbs and flow of what the game brings sometimes, right? So I think we have good baseball people, whether they're pro scouts, whether they're coaches, whether they're the manager, whether they're the general manager, whether they're analytics guys. I think we have good people. I'm getting permission requests all over the place. We just lost our bench coach to the Mets as a manager. I've got analytics guys trying to be poached to other clubs right now. Our player development program, no different than other places. But again, reinforcement that we got good people. I'm proud of our people, and I'm proud of our process. Doesn't mean we're firing on all cylinders, doesn't mean we're the best in class, but I think we're pretty good personally. And I'm proud of our people, and I'm also looking forward to 24 being a better year than 23.
When was the last time you thought your group did something poorly, and what was that?
So I suspect from your question that you don't think I think we've made mistakes. We have made mistakes. I'm not like, why do I have to say what mistakes I've made here recently, given the fact that I'm playing?
Singular mistakes. I'm asking if you think that you have a weakness someplace. Like John asked you a question that your moves for historically have not failed on the big ones the way they have over, say, the last 36 months. So do you think you're doing something
in some of the
different
cases,
and more poorly?
I wouldn't say different. No, we're trying. One of the things we're victimized, in my opinion, is we're trying to go for it, right? We've got to, back when we gutted the team on that year where I felt the team wasn't good enough, and we traded a lot of veterans, got a lot of prospects to build back, and we created a whole new window, right? And that window is still open. Doesn't mean it's open big time, and it, obviously with every year there's a little attrition. It closes. Your competition gets a little better with the way the system's all set up. That takes the good teams from the high end, it drags them down. It takes the bad teams and drags them up with the draft picks and the international signings and all that stuff. We all know that. So we've been fighting to keep that window open, and we're fighting to get into the postseason and take our shots. So, for instance, Montas. When we were unable to get Castillo that year, we felt the second best pitcher on the market was Montas. It was a limited market. We went in, we got his medicals, we looked at him, we were scouting him. He broke. There was nothing in the medicals that said he had a bad shoulder at that point. It was actually cleaner than we thought. I've already spoken to this publicly. He broke. And then when he went and saw 3 different doctors, they said it wasn't going to need the surgery. He still broke, and he still needed the surgery. So, you know what? It sucked. It's a bad situation. If that's something that you want me to say that was a mistake, it turned out to be a mistake. I'm not sure what else in the process we could have done other than if I time zoned it back and knew what was going to happen, despite all doctors, they're all the experts. We didn't have access to a player that's a pretty good pitcher. Now he's a free agent. He's going to sign a contract, whether it's here or somewhere else. And I guarantee he'll probably shove again, and so, but bad timing. I don't know what else to tell you, but if you want me to say it turned out to be a bad move, it was a bad move. and so I wish I could avoid those situations. If I could turn back and say, hey, man, I am sorry that we acquired Joey Gallo and he didn't play well for us. Yeah, I'm sorry he didn't play well for us, but it wasn't because he didn't try. It wasn't because we didn't, I don't know. It was a limited market. We're trying to win. We need a left-handed bat, and he was the one guy I could get that actually fit the bill. It is what it is. Otherwise, I don't know what to tell you. I don't have an answer for it.
So what areas do you want to shore up at this point?
We need 2 outfielders because of Jason Dominguez being hurt now. Obviously, that doesn't help. So now I need a center fielder. I need a left fielder, preferably left-handed. If that's always try to reinforce our pitching. We have infield surplus. Do you try to find a lane to get Peraza involved, or I'm sure people will try to prey on that. We have Gleyber Torres in the last year of his contract. He had a hell of a year. He was our second best hitter last year, obviously behind Judge, and got to get Stanton up and running again. And hopefully, this past year, because the one thing he's injury prone. We all have lived and known that, but he's never not hit when he's playing. And this year is the first time that's happened.
With all the discussions you guys have had, a lot of years you've kind of brought back kind of a similar core. The team's performed well, so you've run it back with some alterations. Do you think this roster is going to take a lot more, roll up the sleeves, doing a lot more work to get this back to where you need it to be for the next year? Trades, free agents, that sort of stuff.
I think
more so than the past.
I don't know about more so or not. I think there's important things that need to be done, and hopefully we'll be able to find a way to solve those and feel good about it. But I know at this stage last year, not this stage, but obviously as we entered spring training, I know that we solved a number of different spots that we felt really good about, and it didn't play out the way we had hoped.
Was your main takeaway from those 3 days of discussions that not much needs to change, and that in the end the 82 and 80 season was only a result of injuries and underperformance? No,
I'm telling you that injuries and underperformance are part of it, without a doubt. And are there areas for us to get better at and improve at? Yes. Is there people that jumped off the bandwagon because we started to down our leg and lose some games, and it caused them to be, looking at making mountains out of molehills, or you hear about, we don't bunt enough. We didn't lose 80 games because we didn't bunt enough. That doesn't mean we can't obviously adjust more. We're teaching bunting. I know Hal talked about it on your call, I heard, but that's not why we lost in 23. It's not. And it's not that we don't practice bunting in the minor leagues either, although we are low in the in-game use of bunting. So, obviously that was something that was raised, but it's not a big key issue for us. There's a lot of things that we unpacked, a lot of things that we had to reinforce, which is, all right, let's unpack and discuss certain things that we're getting accused of. Is that true? And we had a lot of fiery conversations, because I see articles you write that you're talking to people that say certain things, or I see articles somebody else might write and see. So we got to unpack, where's that coming from? Who believes this? Words mean nothing. Actions are going to mean everything. The wins coming through is what's going to make everything better, and until such time, it doesn't matter. The rest of it's going to be noise. No one's going to buy what I say or what I try to sell. It's not selling. I'm telling you my facts and the world I'm living in. And but at the end of the day, it's all about the end result, which is, are you going to have a team that's going to be believed, that has a chance to win a World Series? Do you have a team that has a chance to get through your American League opponents, to get into the dance, and then win the American League to take a shot at the World Series title? And that's obviously what we're trying to accomplish. That's what we're always trying to accomplish. But after you go through a season like we just went through, it doesn't matter how I say it, what I say. It just matters what we do.
What should people know about Carlos Mendoza?
Mendy, he's a tough loss. Mendy is, I think the Mets got a great one. He's been a bridesmaid to many of these interviews. I cannot tell you the amount of feedback I've gotten from everyone he's interviewed with, which is, I cannot believe this guy hasn't got a manager job yet. Like, is this real? He's obviously from Venezuela, speaks Spanish, speaks English. He's got structure. He's got process. He knows the game's fundamentals. He's been running our Major League Spring Training for years. He probably was taught by Rob Thompson how to run our camp when Rob was running before him. He knows analytics inside out. He's got discipline. He's not afraid to go at a player when necessary and when it's required. He's got a soft touch too at the same time. I think he's a Swiss Army knife. I think the Mets got a really great baseball person we've lost an asset that we're going to now have to replace. But I'm a Mendy fan, and I congratulate him, and so I thought that there was going to be a job for him already, but this is the one that was meant to be.